Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Get Clients with Speaking show. Today, you're going to learn how to make sure you are legally covered when you're out there giving your signature talk with our guest expert, Lisa Fraley. Lisa is an attorney and legal coach who helps entrepreneurs stop being legally naked so that they can protect themselves, their business, and their brands. Lisa combines her 20 years of legal knowledge with her unique spiritual bent, and she aligns the 7 key legal steps with your 7 chakras to help you get legally covered through her one-on-one services and her signature Go Bear legal course for entrepreneurs, which is a one-step-at-a-time course with a whole lot of legal love. Lisa calls herself a holistic lawyer who's part lawyer, part coach, and part woo-woo because she believes that the law is both practical and spiritual. Lisa earned her JD from Case Western Reserve University with a concentration in healthcare law and bioethics, and her BA with honors from Miami University in Ohio. Lisa, I am so excited you are here today. Welcome to the show.
Hi, so great to be here with you, Alyssa.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Lisa. You know, I have been looking at you for such a long time and following your evolution as a legal coach, and it is just such a pleasure and a joy to have you here today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm really excited. I've watched you too, and it's been fun to watch our transition from the health coaching world over to doing other things.
Yes, it absolutely has. So Lisa, you know, I know we're going to talk today about keeping yourself legally protected when you're giving presentations and talks. But before we get into that, I'd love for you to just share with us today, you know, your evolution, because I know that you used to be a health coach. So would you just tell us what brought you here today to be this legal coach that you are?
Absolutely. So I started out in my career working in a large corporate law firm, which was an amazing place to work. Like, I was so grateful to have that opportunity. It came with the cushy paycheck, and it was a beautiful firm. But you know what happened, Alyssa, as to a lot of us in sort of corporate America, is that it really hurt my health. Like, my adrenals were burned out. I was living on sugar and caffeine. And so I actually left the practice of law for a while and found myself walking down the path of life coaching and then health coaching. So I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition to become a health coach to kind of get a handle on what was going on with my body around sugar and caffeine. And what's so funny is that I was practicing as a health coach for about a year and a half, maybe. And all of these health coaches said, Lisa, you're a lawyer. Like, we need you. Traditional lawyers don't really get us. They don't really get what we do online, and we really need you to help us. So that's really what prompted me bringing together my legal background with the health and life coaching side to call myself a legal coach. And that was 3 years ago that I started doing legal coaching work. So it's been an interesting journey how I've gotten here, but it's amazing when you can pull all the parts of you together to create the business that really reflects all of you.
Wow, I really enjoy that, pulling all the parts of you together to create the business that works for you. That's fantastic. Ooh, I bet a lot of people that are listening to this right now want to know how to do that.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Well,
that was the help of Mike, who helped me do that.
Yes, thank God for coaches.
Exactly.
Yes. So Lisa, one of the reasons why I brought you on the call today is because I know that in addition to being a legal coach, you also have done and continue to do all these speaking engagements. So would you tell us a little bit about first the speaking engagements that you did as a health coach?
Sure. So when I was a health coach in that period of about a year and a half, I actually gave 72 paid corporate wellness seminars, which is incredible when I look back and think about how I even managed to do that, but in such a short period of time. But I have to say, I really loved it. I loved being able to take that part of us that wants to help inspire other people around health and wellness and really be able to go into a room and motivate people and listen to their stories and honor where they are in their journey and be able to help them take small baby incremental steps to get from where they are to where they're going. And, it's funny, Alyssa, because they say so many people have such a fear of public speaking, which is why it's such a gift to so many professionals, holistic professionals and health coaches that you do this work. Because once you get the speaking bug, though, you just want to keep doing it. You just feel comfortable and you just want to keep doing it. So that's what really got my fire lit around doing public speaking. And I really enjoy it, and I seem to keep doing it. So it really is such a great opportunity.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know that you've got 2 really big speaking engagements coming up. Will you tell us a little bit more about those? And I'd also love to know, because the audience, people want to know, how did you get those speaking engagements? So I want you to tell us what they are, and then tell us a little bit about the how, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one is called the Be Great Conference, and it's going to be in Seattle, October 23rd through 25th, and it's being hosted and put together by the director, Dory Epstein-Ransom, and I'm going to be speaking about, I'm one of the 3 keynote speakers, actually, and I'll be speaking about the law and the 7 chakras, because I align all of my key legal steps with one of the 7 chakras, which is highly unusual for a lawyer, for sure. And that conference has a bit of a spiritual twist to it, which is why I'm bringing the chakras into the talk more prominently. But the way that I actually was invited to participate in that conference is really because of connecting through Facebook to other friends through B School, through, we have a B School woo-woo group, as we call it, for all of us woo-woo lawyers out there and woo-woo entrepreneurs. And it was really just a personal invitation through building relationships online. And and we all know the power of social media and how beautifully we can all connect with one another and build community and find homes in different Facebook groups and build true friendships. So that's how that speaking engagement came to me. And I'm really excited about it. And then the second one is actually for the health coach group, and it's called Health Coach Mastery, and it's a summit and mastermind in Florida at Club Med, November 4th through 8th. And Kathy Sikora, who is the owner and founder of the Health Coach Group, as a lot of health coaches know, she has an amazing company that really helps support you around do-it-yourself programs and help taking your business to a whole different level. And she held a mastermind last year, which was much smaller, maybe around 50 attendees. And I was invited to speak about the top 3 ways to protect yourself as a health coach from a legal standpoint, and also what you can and can't say in your state as a health coach, because people have so many questions about that. And my talk was very well received last year, and it was very interactive. And Kathy invited me to come back again this year and speak on the same stage as people like Gabrielle, Bernstein, and Carr. So I was really, really honored and excited.
I'm honored and excited for you. That's awesome.
Really fun. It'll be really fun. So again, that was another invitation, Alyssa, that came through just relationship building. She lets me share this, but Kathy had been one of my legal coaching clients, and I had done some work from her, so she knew the quality of my work, and we just built a relationship, and then she asked me to speak. So relationships are key for everything, really.
This is such a fascinating thing, and I'm so grateful that you're talking about this, because the majority of, I think, our business as entrepreneurs comes from relationships and connecting with people. And for most people in their business that are watching this video right now, you being behind your computer isn't necessarily where it's at. You connecting with people, maybe it is on Facebook, maybe it's live, maybe it's some through Skype or the phone, but that is where it's really at. And then one thing I know about you, Lisa, is that you deliver really high value content. You just absolutely deliver. And, that is such a huge piece of being asked back to an event.
Thank you. Yes. Well, and part of what I have to say, Alyssa, too, that I've always sort of taken pride in, both when I did the health coaching engagements, but also these, is that you really tailor your talk to the specific audience. So, I really try to make it interactive and interesting. Last year, even at Club Med, this group was smaller, so they were able to move around the room, and I had them actually get out of their seats and move, and that doesn't happen very often when you're doing a talk. So anything that we can do to help people feel like they're a part of the conversation, and I know you teach people this, but it really has worked for me to be able to address people by name or address people specifically or their specific concerns rather than feeling like that you're just standing up giving some canned talk that you give to everyone. I think that personal touch makes a huge difference.
I love that. So connecting with your audience and really speaking to them. And then you also threw in this added tip of get them moving around or get them engaged somehow, I think is what the essence of you're trying to say is find a way to engage that audience so that they have that personal experience with it.
Exactly. And in ways they can connect with each other. So this one little example was in a lot of states, a lot of health coaches don't know what they're allowed to do. And the Center for Nutrition Advocacy has really helped people understand what you can do in green states where the laws are a little bit more open versus red states where it's really, limited as to what you can do and say as a health coach if you're not a registered dietitian. So I had people go to different parts of the room. If you're in a green state, go here. If you're in a red state, go here. If you're in orange or yellow. And then I spoke to each group specifically and also mentioned all their states by name. So it was a lot more work on the background on my part. And I don't think we'll be able to do that this year. There'll be too many people. But in a smaller setting, I did the background research and found out what state everyone was from, what category they would fall into, so that I could address them and have them physically move. So that's just an example of how it's not hard. It didn't take me that much longer to pull that information in, but I think it made it really memorable and different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find, and I know you know this too, that when you create those I call them experiential learning activities, that not only does the audience basically seal in the learning that you had, but they also remember you as that presenter that shook them up and got them out of their seats and got them thinking in a different way, or got them, learning something in a different way, or got them connecting in a different way. So I love that you share that with us today, that even when you're talking about a subject like legal matters, you can still deliver that high experiential learning environment. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Well, we try to make the law as fun as we possibly can, so we have to get creative.
That's right. Well, that's an excellent transition into what I think I want to talk to you about next and ask about next, because I know that so many coaches are out there giving talks and entrepreneurs are out there giving talks, and they're, when I think about it, a number of questions come into my mind. So what I want to ask you is, what are some of the biggest legal concerns that speakers, whether they're a holistic health coach or a holistic entrepreneur, should be aware of when they're giving talks?
Sure. So the first one is that when you're speaking, if you're quoting someone other than yourself, if you're quoting a source, or even especially if you have it in a printed handout that you're giving alongside your spoken presentation, you really want to be really careful about copyright laws. And I talk about this all the time because you want to make sure that if you're quoting someone else's book or recipe or quote or whatever, that you're really giving proper credit to the author so that it can't be perceived that you're stealing their work and using it as your own. So that's really important. Sometimes, when we are inspired by other people, we sometimes bring in their quotes and we just don't really realize that we are actually not giving them credit. So we want to be conscious of copyright laws. That would be my first piece of advice for sure.
I like that. That is a great one, because I know that here's an example. So Michael Pollan has the quote, eat, what is it? Eat mostly plants, not too much.
Yeah,
eat food, mostly plants, not too much.
Yep.
So can you,
exactly.
using that quote by Michael Pollan, can you give us an example? If I were a coach and I was doing a talk and I wanted to maybe create a slide that said, eat food, mostly plants, not too much, how I would go about giving proper credit in that arena.
Sure. So I'm glad you mentioned this, because there are two things going on. One is giving proper credit, and one is actually getting permission. So, Alyssa, if you're doing a talk for free, or you're just sharing free information, but you're not really selling it, or it's not part of your program or service that someone's paid for, it's just a free talk, like I'm speaking at these conferences and just sharing information, then you can, you have a little bit more leeway. You still have to be careful, but you have a little bit more leeway. You would want to make sure you're quoting the person by name, and also the title of the book, and also the publisher. if you can add that information onto your slide. The trick becomes when we're using quotes or excerpts from other people's materials in a program or service that you're actually charging money for, a paid program or service, or that's financially enhancing your business, then you actually need to get permission. Because free, sometimes you still should get permission, but you have a little bit more leeway because you're not making money. You're kind of promoting them. Most authors are okay with that. But the minute you start making money in your own business using their work, then you really do want to get credit. You want to get permission for credit, and also just actual permission from the publisher if it's a book, or from the author. And a lot of times you can go onto an author's website, and there'll be a contact section where you can find out how to contact them to get their permission. Or sometimes in their terms and conditions at the bottom of the website, there'll be a place where it says, if you need permission to use this, contact us here. So it can be really easy to get permission. People just don't realize that.
Okay, so I love this, the easiness, because I have done this time and time again myself, and inevitably I have a very similar experience, which is it is so easy. And I think what gets in the way for a lot of coaches as they start freaking out. And so my first example of this is I was doing a program about self-care, and I was quoting Cheryl Richardson for a paid program. And I was nervous. I thought, oh God, what if they say no? And I thought, no, Alyssa, that's just your crazy critter brain talking. Just contact them. And I did. Her assistant reached out to me within 24 hours and said, absolutely, we'd love to have you, use this quote, and here's how you properly credit. And so I want to use that as an example because it really is so easy if you just do it, And I personally like to have written permission even in a free talk. If I'm using someone's quote or work, I like to just have that on file. So I have a little file folder in my email that's like written permissions, and that I just store them all right there. So if there's any ever question, I can just go back, pull it out, and there it is.
Brilliant. Absolutely. And that is the gold standard for sure. Alyssa, what a great example you're setting for people to do that. Yes, when it's free, you still want to get permission. It's just that they don't come after you as often if you don't. That's but right. Yes, absolutely. That is great. Really good.
That's right. But I do. It is so easy, and you just do it, and it's just a quick email, and it's not like they're going to shut you down. They actually, for the most part, want that work promoted, and they know that you're writing permission, so you are going to actually credit them. So thank you so much for that.
That's right.
So here's another question that I think I hear so much. So one of the things I do with coaches and entrepreneurs is I help them create this incredibly powerful signature talk that's all theirs from the very heart and soul of them, and I help them bring that and birth it out into the world. But a lot of times, one of the main concerns is, oh God, what if someone steals my work when I put it out there on webinars and what have you? So what advice do you have for someone who's maybe got a signature talk or got a great talk in them and they haven't yet given birth to it because they're thinking, oh, what if someone steals this content? Or the person that already has it and is still nervous about that. What advice do you have for them?
That is such a common worry, and it makes perfect sense why coaches and entrepreneurs worry about that, because this is your baby. This is, like you said, your signature talk. It's like often the crux and so related to the heart of your brand that it can feel really scary to birth it feeling like it's unprotected and unsafe. And I like to say, like, your business is legally naked. Your talk is legally naked. So there's a couple things that you can do. If you're actually pulling from information on your website to put it into your talk, or maybe you're pulling from a blog post or other content on your sales page or your home page, you want to make sure that you have website terms and conditions. And in the footer of your website, it's a link to a hidden document that's really detailed website terms and conditions that lets people know what they can and can't do with the information on your website. So it depends on where you're gathering the pieces of your information for your talk, but a lot of people will have written about it or done a mini program or something first before it becomes their signature talk. So I would recommend doing that for sure. The second thing, Alyssa, is that you actually can copyright your talk. You can actually copyright the document, the words for your talk, because it's an original work of art or an original work that you've created. And you can get that copyrighted through the U.S. Copyright Office, which is pretty reasonable to do that. And what that means is that, you know how we all put the little C at the bottom of the page with your name and the date?
Yes.
Well, when we all just go ahead and put that on our document, that's a really great idea, because you're telling the world that you're claiming that as your own. But what happens then, in order to actually, in order to enforce your legal rights to that work, you have to register it with the U.S. Copyright Office. So if you're providing a transcript of your talk, or if you're publishing it or doing it in a video and putting transcript underneath or something like that, you want to make sure you have your talk actually copyrighted.
I love that. So just putting the little C with the circle around it doesn't necessarily mean anything other than I intend for you not to use this. If you really want it to be copyrighted, you've got to actually register it with the Copyright Office. Awesome.
That's right. And a lot of times the little C, as I call it, it does deter people, because a lot of people aren't really sure what that really means. So it's still a good habit to put. And also it shows your intention. It does show that you're claiming these words as your own. You have the awareness and intention to claim them as your own. And Alyssa, one thing that's unique about me as a lawyer is that I believe the law protects you in practical ways and in energetic ways. So when you're taking legal steps or steps towards creating boundaries and containers to hold your work, you're actually saying to the world, to the universe, to the energy out there, like, this is mine, I'm holding it and protecting it as part of my own creative work, and it helps to draw a boundary to then not attract people to take it.
Oh, wow. That's so
not
powerful.
Your typical lawyer.
I know, thank God. Thank God. Yeah, because truly, when you create that boundary, when you create that container, all of a sudden the universe sees you as, hey, you're totally fine here. We're not even going to, because you're not worrying about it. And I sort of tend to believe that you're adding that worry into your vibrational equation, and then you start attracting in exactly what you don't want, which is people stealing your work, and then you wonder why did people steal my work? Yeah.
And sometimes people say, well, Lisa, like, I don't even want to do the legal part, because I feel like if I'm doing the legal part, then I'm worried about someone taking it. And I'm like, oh, no. Back up a little bit. It's actually when you have the legal part in place that you're really sort of coming from a caring place of protecting and honoring your work in a really non-scary, fearful way. And you're putting that container around it so that then, like you said, you can relax and you don't have to worry. So it's not to attract scarcity energy to do your legal work. It's actually to help you relax, so that energy isn't even going out into the world.
I love that. Yeah, just get yourself protected so that you can relax. And when that energy, I think you probably have seen this millions of times, but when you can relax and let that energy not be a part of you any longer, all of a sudden you've got all this other energy to deal with. It's something your brain doesn't have to think about anymore. Love that. That's great.
That's right. And it's funny you should say that, because my legal course for entrepreneurs is called Get Legally Covered So You Can Go Bare, which means when you get your legal protections in place, you feel free to show up and sort of bare your heart and soul to the world and share your signature talk and share your signature, wellness seminar, whatever it is, because you're safe and secure. So you can show up and create. And that's the whole reason why we put legal documents in place, is so they can help and support your business to go do what it is that you're supposed to do on the planet and share your message with the world.
Wow. Almost no truer words have been said, because if you don't feel legally covered, you can't expose what's really there. Oh, that is.
Cover yourself up,
brilliant.
Stuck, and you're just sort of hiding. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Exactly.
That's just genius, by the way.
People never think of the law this way, right? Like, people don't think of the law this way. And once you start realizing it's really a tool and your friend to help support your work, the whole thing opens up, and you raise your vibration when you put these legal steps in place for the exact reason we're just talking about, because you're now more open and energetically open to go forward in your business.
Totally. Okay. So Lisa, you make a great point that we should really have ourselves so legally covered so we can get bare. And one of the questions I hear all the time is, should I have a contract when I go to do this speaking event live? What do you have to say about that?
Well, this won't surprise you, Alyssa, but my answer is always absolutely, right? And there's a couple of reasons for that. So, first of all, when you're speaking at an event or at a corporate wellness seminar, or maybe you're being paid or whatever, there are a lot of questions that come up because when you're a part of a conference, for example, and you're speaking from the stage, there are questions that come up around, does this content yours? Or does it become a sort of owned or part of the conference that they can maybe videotape and then sell off as in another program? Or if you have handouts that you're handing out, do those become part of the conference materials? Or are those still your materials? And can you use them in a different program? So there are a lot of things that you need to get really clear around, especially around your intellectual property and your work product. And the beautiful thing that I always say about client agreements and any kind of contract, like a speaking contract, is that whenever you have a contract in place with your client, the company, you are both getting really clear. You're getting really clear, and that gives you comfort. And it's actually a gift to both of you, because once you figure out all of these terms and you're clear about when you're speaking, what happens if you have to cancel, what happens if they have to cancel, who owns the materials, what happens after the conference, all of those things, then it's like a gift to you both, and you can both relax because everybody knows exactly how the relationship will work. And that's a win-win for both of you.
Man, oh man, I tell you what, Lisa, if there's one, I'm just loving what you're saying, because if there's one thing I hear from people pain afterwards wise, it is, I wasn't clear and our agreement wasn't clear, and now I'm all 10 shades of upset because these things didn't happen. And my consistent feedback when I get this, feedback from maybe it's a potential client who's calling me that's having troubles in this area is, it is your responsibility as the speaker to take control of that situation and decide what you want in your speaking contract, and to decide, what you're going to get paid and what you're not going to get paid, and really take control of that whole conversation. And I love that having a contract absolutely will help you both get clarity. And the other thing I notice it does for your client, maybe it's a corporate client, maybe it's a non-for-profit client, whatever, it puts your client at such ease. They feel like you're the professional, you've got this down, you've got this handled, and that they're going to be taken care of. And so I love it kind of from both aspects.
That's right. Yes, you show up as like the consummate professional because you already have this legal document all thought out. You can negotiate, you can still talk about it, you can still figure out how it's going to work between you. But when you have it in writing, I always say that, Alyssa, that you can't pull things from thin air when it comes to the law. Like if it's not in writing, then it's much, much, much harder to prove that it exists or to prove that this is what you both intended. Even trying to piece together emails is just not a good idea. You just want it all in one document, in one place, and just spelled out crystal clear.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point there, because it's not to say that you're going to use this contract to ever sue anybody or do anything like that, but it is so that you can go back and say, hey, we did agree on these things. And, oh, by the way, this is what we had intended. And so it just becomes so nice and crystal clear that you don't have to get upset with someone later for not doing something that you thought they knew, or vice versa.
That's right. That's exactly it. I always say it helps avoid headaches and legal pickles because everybody knows exactly who does what, when it happens. It like allows your critter brain to relax, and it lets you just feel, like you said, at ease. Because both people know exactly how it's going to work and what's expected, who owns what, how people can use things. And you know what, Alyssa, it's really fascinating because even in the context of people appearing in online telesummits or people who are interviewed for other people's courses, often you can also use a speaking engagement then. You don't have to. A speaking contract then. You don't have to. But you certainly can, because it makes sense, right? Like after an interview, maybe even like this, like, is this your interview only to use for your work in the future? Or is this something you'd like me to share and promote to other people too? Or kind of who owns the content, or do we share the content, or how does that work? So even at times for online courses or telesummits, especially when someone's making money directly from the product, then you really do want to have a speaking agreement. Sometimes if you just hop on like this or on a radio show, you don't have to, but it's good to just get clear about it.
I love that, Lisa. And I just had that very question this morning. Someone, not a client, reached out to me, a friend, and said, hey, I just got asked to do this telesummit. What can I expect and what should I ask for to get paid and this and that? And what we realized as we dialogued is that there was a total lack of clarity around that. And so having a speaking agreement will absolutely take care of 100% of that lack of clarity. Because that's when you get, when you don't have clarity on something, that's when feelings get hurt and you start to feel frustrated and you start to feel like, oh, this might not be worth it for me, whatever. But if you just have it up front and you're so crystal clear about this event and what your portion is and how you're going to be compensated or not compensated, it makes you just feel really good so you can show up and give your best. Here's the biggie. The biggie question of the day is I'm just created a brand new signature talk and I'm so excited and it's got this really amazing title. Do I need to trademark it?
That's a great question. I love that question. So here's what I tell people. Trademarking, I equate it with your crown chakra actually, because it's one of the crowning achievements that you can have as an entrepreneur is to own the rights to your words in a certain context, which is what trademarking allows you to do. You own these words for like 10 years and you can renew them. So you can own them for infinity, really, or however long you're alive or your estate or your family are alive. And that's a long time. That's a really long time. So what's so important about that, Alyssa, is that I tell people you don't want to trademark a title if there aren't three things associated with it. This is my little little trademark test that I'll share with you all as my little legal love tip. So number one, if you're passionate about it, then it's something you need to trademark. If you'd be heartbroken someone ran off with the title of your talk, that's a good sign you might want to trademark it. Number two, is it connected to your profit? So is it really it's not just a talk you're giving this one time, but is it really part of your whole signature program or your signature system or your brand, or maybe you're going to write a book with that title? Is it attached to something that's going to bring you money now? And then third, also, does it have potential? Is it going to give you money in the future? So you don't want to just trademark a random thing that you're not emotionally attached to or financially attached to. But if you do have those pieces there, then it's definitely worth looking at to see if you can trademark it because it has value. It has value for your brand, it has value for your programs and services, and it has value for who you are as a person. So for example, I've trademarked legal coach and holistic lawyer because those so clearly describe who I am. That's not a title of a talk, but you get where I'm going with that. That's so key and essential to who I am. So if that talk is really important to you, you should definitely think about trademarking it.
Well, oh my gosh, I feel like we have just gotten this amazing legal download from my favorite legal goddess and coach. So, one of the things, Lisa, that I know you are such a powerful coach. You've helped just so many coaches step more into their power because they're legally covered. So what's one action step that people who are listening to this right now could take to just go even deeper and get themselves more legally covered?
Sure. So one of the things that I want all of you to have for your practice, whether it applies to your talks or for your practice in general, is that I really want you, that's a really easy thing to have, is a really strong refund policy, right? So if someone's purchasing something from you, if someone is purchasing a service or a product or a program, I want you to make sure you have a really strong refund policy. And the reason I'm telling you that is because next week, Alyssa has kindly allowed me to invite you to a free legal call on how to write a strong refund policy. And during the call, you're actually going to get a free refund policy template that you can use for your business. So I just want to share that with you. That's a really easy legal step that you can take. It's free. I will share a little bit during that call about how to get legally covered so you can go bear the legal course for entrepreneurs that I'm relaunching again this fall. But I really want you to come and get a free refund policy template so you can insert that into your client agreements or insert that on your website and sales pages so you're really clear with people about refunds when they work with you.
I know that is so juicy because, and it's something I hear from coaches all the time is, what should I do about a refund policy? And do I have one? And no, I don't. And oh my gosh, people are asking for this back, or maybe they want to take a pause on the program. And I don't know what to do I just was talking to a coach the other day. She's like, I had someone who wanted to take an 8-month pause. I had no idea what to tell them. And so I know this refund policy is really going to help you guys get clear about that. So that is super exciting, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Well, I love giving free legal tips. I do that all the time on my website as well. And if anyone wants to sign up for that call, Alyssa is kindly sharing that with people. So you can go to lisafraley.com. That's Lisa, FRALEY.com/Alyssa. And you'll be able to get all the details and information about that.
And we'll put a link right down below this video. So go and check that out.
Perfect.
And we'll also put a link where you can connect with Lisa because she has some amazing tips. She's constantly giving legal tips. So you want to follow her on Facebook and Twitter so that you can keep yourself legally covered so that you can go bare and show up in this world and give your authentic voice. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure and a treat.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm so excited that all of you are writing signature talks and getting out there and sharing your message with the world, and that Alyssa is guiding you as you do that, because the world needs your voice. They need to hear you, and they need to, you just get out there and give as many talks as you can. It's such an exhilarating experience. So thank you, Alyssa, so much. I'm so happy to be here today.
Oh my gosh, yes, thank you, Lisa. And the world needs you. Go give some talk, share your voice, and get legally covered. All right, everybody, have a great day.